Hey everybody, welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantelle, your hostess with the mostest awesome guests and viewers. and just a big welcome to everyone in the chats as well. Nice to see you all there. Jojo, Girl in a Gong, Urso. I know I've spoken to you before. I know what your real name is, or I think I do, but I don't know how to pronounce Urso. Yeah. Is it Urso? I know she comes onto your show a lot. Urso.
Yeah. I think Urso's name is Dawn. Okay, I'm pretty sure, but
Dawn.
I think so. Urso. Yeah, I think Urso.
Is Urso is what? A Dawn, a girl or a boy?
A male.
Oh, right. Okay. How interesting.
I believe so. Yes.
Hello, Jessica. Well, now we try to decipher the code names of our guests. Hello, Jessica. How are you?
Hey.
So good to see you.
Hey, it's good to see you too. Thank you for having me back on. This is always fun.
Yeah, of course. You know that you're part of the Era team here already. So me a male. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, guys, so we're going to be talking tonight more about super soldiers. We're going to be talking about the underground facilities where they're creating these cryptids or the super soldiers. And then, of course, the Billiwhack monster, which, I mean, all goes hand in hand. So very interesting, Jessica. Tell us what's happening.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is all very interesting stuff. You know, with my remote viewing show that I do and all the targets that I've been given, it just seems like all these topics that we talk about are just kind of all coming together for me. Okay. And I wanted to cover this today because I think it's important. You know, I did not even know what the Super Soldier program was until I started getting these targets given to me, remote viewing targets, coordinate remote viewing targets, where I'm given a set of coordinates to look into things. One of them was a potential dogman sighting out of Missouri. And this was from at least a year or two ago. It was about a year and a half ago, I believe. And as I was doing this remote viewing of an area, it's actually on federal land owned by our government, okay, where there's a lot of, it's national park land, you know, federal land here in the United States. And a lot of times when I'm looking into places like that, I stumble across underground facilities. And it just happens. It's a part of remote viewing. I'm looking at the whole area. It's just the coordinates. I'm just, you know, I'm getting this data out of these blind targets. And on this one particular one, I was remote viewing a facility where chimeras were being created in a lab, and it had ties to the secret space program. Okay, and I was very unfamiliar with the secret space program at that time. I was just a Bigfoot girl. Okay, I'm out here, boots on the ground, field researcher with some remote viewing skills, and I didn't know a lot about it. But then you fast forward, I kind of tucked it away. Fast forward, I started doing some work with some of the guys with Journey to Truth podcast, and they invited me to speak at their conference. And we had talked a good bit about some of my remote viewing data that involved underground facilities, including the Chimera lab and stuff like that. And I went and I was speaking at their conference. And the first day I got there, I met a lot of the actual super soldiers that were part of the super soldier programs. And one of the gentlemen came up to me, Daryl James, and he told me, he said, "Hey, Jessica, I have some encounters I'd like to talk with you about. One involving, you know, you and I have talked about this, Shanti, a human spider hybrid, okay, and things like that." And he had a lot of experience with these things down underground in some of these bases. And of course, we've talked to Caleb about it as well, you know, and I've been on here with Caleb. But the rabbit hole goes real deep on this. It goes real deep. And these are things that pop up in my remote viewing data quite often, whether I'm assigned them as a target or not. They keep coming up.
Right.
So
they want to be seen, right? I mean, to me, if they keep sort of coming into your view, your pathway, to me, it's sort of, sorry, my phone is just making a noise here. So it's like they want to be discovered. And it's like what you're saying earlier on as well. You know, every time you're given a target, whether you asked to view underground facilities or not, you're seeing them. So it's like they're all over. I mean, it's, you know, to me, it's like they're just all over. And you can't help but see it now. It's like all these things need to be revealed. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. And also, there's so many different dots to connect with all of this. Okay, and okay, so Arkeem was on my show this past week, and I have taught him how to assign me with targets, coordinate remote viewing targets. He has given me some of the most fantastic targets that I've ever done. And he was part of the Super Soldier programs. He was part of Project Phoenix and the Montauk project. And, you know, time travel, he believes he was a time cop. Okay. And there's actually movies about these things made. And it's so interesting because a lot of the movies.
What's a time cop? Yeah, what is that?
He is a cop. He's like law enforcement for timelines and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Time jumping, you know, it's a thing. I mean, they've made movies about it. Okay. Wow. So yeah, it's really interesting how these movies came out in the 1980s and the 90s, and it just seemed like science fiction, but today it's looking more like those things are actually real. So Arkeem gave me some interesting targets like jump gates to and stargates, jump rooms to Mars and to Venus. Okay, those were two of my targets. He also is the person who gave me the robot grandma from Mount Shasta, that target. That's a cool one. Yeah, robot grandma. We got to talk about that sometime. Yeah.
It's we got to open up this portal, Jessica.
Yeah. The robot grandma. It was wild. I had never heard of her before, but a little boy was kidnapped at Mount Shasta and taken back. They did find him eventually, but he was taken away out of his campground by a woman who looked like his grandma. But she took him into a cave that was full of discarded belongings of hikers, purses, wallets, clothing, hats, things that had spider webs all over them, like they had been there for a long time. And there were mannequins in there, like robots, that were almost like cloned bodies or robots. But he said that she was asking him all sorts of questions, and he could tell by the way her eyes looked that he said the way he described being a robot was controlled by a remote control. Okay, so she was not human, but she looked like his grandma, and so he called her robot grandma. And eventually she took him back outside and put him in the bushes where he was found by the search crew. There were hundreds of, you know, park rangers and search and rescue people looking for him, and they found him. But however, and there's a whole story behind it too, because a year before that, the actual grandma had been in that same park camping, and she woke up one morning with face down outside of her tent on the ground with puncture wounds in her neck.
And no one knew why. Wow.
Well, they think that she might have been cloned.
That's what I was going to say, because that to me seems like they would have. I mean, you're hearing these stories. I've lately somehow on my feed, you get these Reddit stories of what these guys that play around on the dark web. And I mean, it gives me the creeps, but somehow I listened to one the other day, and it was exactly that. When someone on the dark web wanted their DNA. And he gave his DNA, thought, well, what the hell, you know, what can happen? And the next thing, he starts seeing people like himself around. It's insane. I mean, who knows what's possible? I mean, it's wow.
Yes, it's really odd. And they were also, actually, the robot grandma was wanting to take a stool sample from the kid and all this stuff, all sorts of weird stuff. And he said that they came from the stars, and you know, like they weren't from this planet. It's something that you and I should probably look into one day a little bit more. It's interesting. But however, that's a cool story that was given to me as a target for remote viewing. I actually had some pins made. Hold on, let me see if I got them right here. I had some robot grandma pins made. I'll have to send you some. Um, and this is something that I made. This is Robot Grandma. So my Patreon members get Robot Grandma pins. Okay, that's a Robot Grandma. Okay, it made an impact. Okay, on me, and I appreciate it. So, yeah, things like that. You know, a lot of these things start coming together. As far as the things, the targets our Akeem gave me, including another one that was underground Davenport, Iowa. That is in the Midwest, in the middle of, it's like the belly button of our country right there. And he remembered being in a facility there underground where they were doing cloning and other stuff. And some people have joked around about a former First Lady Hillary Clinton being, I think they said that she was cloned out of that facility, is what he was telling us. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what the rumor is. That there's cloning going on there of, you know, high profile people, and my data actually backed up that theory. Okay, and also he remembers seeing blimmies down there. Now I don't know if you guys are familiar with blimmies, but blimmies are actually on old world maps, and I don't know if we can consider them a cryptid. I call them a cryptid. Because they're not supposed to have existed, kind of like dragons and unicorns and dog-headed men, but they are a humanoid body with no head, and their face sits within their chest right here. So it's just a torso with a face in the chest. And he said that he remembered seeing one.
We spoke about that right in the beginning. I remember now. Wow, yes, I remember that. Wow, that's insane.
Yes. Okay. So we pretty much had started establishing, so even with all these encounters and stories, accounts from the super soldier participants, that there are underground facilities. We already know that we have deep underground military bases all over the United States. But with this data that I'm getting, this is just through my own data, my own, you know, research. There are pretty much underground facilities in all these national parks that I'm looking into. Deep underground military bases, labs, you name it. There's something going on at a lot of these places that are on federally owned land. Okay, and some of them, like even at the Land Between the Lakes, another place where we have dogman sightings and attacks. There's something going on underground there.
Oh yeah.
And so, well, how far back does this go? That's my question. How far back? What exactly are they doing there? Why are they there? A lot of questions. And I was given this target of something called the Billiwhack monster. Billiwhack monster.
Okay, let's bring him up.
Yes, I had never heard of it before. Never heard of the Billiwhack monster before, but it turns out this Billiwhack monster goes all the way back to the 1920s. And it looks very much like a goat man. But the Billiwhack had been reported around Southern California in Ventura County. A lot of people said it was the result of military experiments. Reports of this thing being seen were around the 1930s. But in the 1950s, a young boy was attacked by a goat man-like creature that left his arm cut really bad. And over the next several decades, it stalked people and animals around this area that used to be a dairy farm. Okay, so this thing was always been seen around a dairy farm called the Billiwhack Dairy. Now it's in this area called Wheeler Canyon Road, and this goat man figure would throw rocks at cars and chase teenagers and chase hikers up until I think it was the 1970s were one of the last times that there were reportings by like a lot of people were seeing this creature. So there's another backstory. Go ahead.
Wasn't there a sighting in 2007 of this thing as well?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. People are still sporadically seeing this goat man figure. Absolutely. But there were mass sightings back in the 60s and 70s of it.
Yes, I mean, from what I recall hearing, and it seemed to terrorize school kids or teenagers or something. I don't know if that's part of the mythology behind it, and it used to like chase people around, stuff like that. And then the last time it was seen was at the end of the 60s, when apparently, I don't know if you got that, but there was apparently a little kid who took a sword and said he's going to go slay the monster or something, and then it disappeared, and then again to be seen in 2007. I mean, how insane, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently a lot of the kids, like you said, were wanting to go and unalive this monster. And there was a woman who leased the land where this dairy was or is, and she said that she held off 43 children with a shotgun until the officers arrived. They were all there to unalive this monster. So, it's an interesting local legend. It's not reported very often by a lot of adults. They said it was mostly teenagers that would report it, and the kids would go thrill seeking to try to find it. I mean, I'm guilty of doing that. When I was a kid, I went.
Sounds like you. Sounds like you.
Right. Well, I'm an adult now. I still do it. Okay. But when I was in high school, I did go looking for the Pigman in our county. We had a Pigman, and I got chased by a Pigman when I was in high school. So I didn't see it, but I heard it.
What does a Pigman look like? And is this also, because again, I ask you this, this obviously would also be some type of cryptid that's been created in some kind of dodgy underground facility. But again, I'm sure it would also be, again, the pig, because they are so often using pig and human DNA interfacing. I don't know if that's the word, interfacing that DNA, and they're creating all sorts of monstrosities from that. But anyway, I'd love to hear about the Pigman, please.
Yes. Well, and that's something else that Daryl James told me, that they're pretty much combining anything, any kind of animal DNA with human DNA, because it's so malleable, is the way he described it. He said that human DNA can be mixed with any other DNA to create something, a monstrosity, or whatever you want to call it, chimeras. Ultimately, chimeras. Now, when I was in high school, there was a story about a family who had been unalived by the father in the family, a mother and some children, and he had buried them underneath the house. And so we would go out, and I went a couple of times, and I ended up doing a documentary there. I was part of my mass media class. I got to leave campus and go film and stuff. I had it easy there. Okay. So I would leave campus as much as I could to go film. And part of that mass media class, I went out to Pigman's because I'd been there at night before, but I wanted to go during the day. So we took our cameras, me and some of our friends, and the story goes that the man had unalived his family and buried them under the house. And if you go inside this old rickety house built in the 1800s, the floorboards would be cut out in the front room, in the living room, and there was a hole like 6 feet deep into the ground. That's where the bodies had been buried and were ultimately dug up and found. All right, well, but if you go there at night, if you go up to the house, Pigman, the man actually turned into a pigman. He lost his mind. Somehow he's morphed into a pig. Okay, that was a story. And but there are, I've done shows on Pigman. There are Pigman sightings all over the country, but it's mostly a bipedal human with a pig head is what it is. And that's what we expected to see. That's what we're expecting. But the Pigman would chase you from behind the house if you walked up to that house at night. And I remember the first time I went, we did get chased by something. It probably was wild pigs. Okay. But I didn't stick around to find out. I ran. We ran and jumped in the car and locked the doors.
It was something to do with the pig, and I'm running.
Yeah. Pigs are dangerous too. Pigs are dangerous. So wild pigs. But
they are. But again, is this, I'm wondering, when you're saying, according to legend, that this guy was just able to shapeshift basically, or morph into this Pigman, could it possibly be spellcasting, or could it possibly be some type of, again, military medical experiment type thing? I'm just wondering about that, because they use a lot of that magic in the arcane as well, with
Yeah.
these creatures of the night.
Yes. Well, we didn't really put a lot of thought into it when we were in high school. We just knew there was a Pigman and it was some kind of curse. He was cursed. So yeah, that would entail black magic for sure. But to us, we just knew there was a cursed man who had unalived his family. And sure enough, when I went there during the day, when we walked into the house, the floorboards were cut open in a circle in the front room, and there was a hole at least 6 to 8 feet down into the ground with children's clothes in it and stuff. So yeah, I have a video. I need to dig into the archives and find that. It's on a VHS tape. I have it here somewhere. But yeah, that was one of my first paranormal documentaries I ever did right there in the 1990s. Okay. But nonetheless, okay, so I'd heard stories like this. We know that there are stories of animal-human hybrids. That's what I talk about all the time on my channel. The chimeras that are being made. People ask me all the time, what do I think dogmen are? Could those be a chimera, lab-made, lab-grown? Yeah, genetic modification, genetic engineering that's been going on for a long, long time. And I've always said, I think it's a lot longer than what we've been told.
I agree.
With the cloning too, we're told about was it Dolly the sheep, or being cloned. Like that was supposed to be the first one. That's bull, okay, so to speak. That's not true. I think the cloning's been going on for hundreds of years, thousands of years, since the beginning of time. Maybe, who knows?
I agree with you because again, if we just look at the Tartaria stuff, right, and we're looking at these incubator babies that were being sold at these baby fairs at the turn of the century. That was the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, right? These are all homunculi, basically, these handmade babies, whatever you want to call them, And if they were making babies back then, that would tell you the experimentation to do that, because that type of cloning is what the master alchemists would do, right? Something has to be dissolved in order to be reformed again or reshaped again. So it would have taken them many, many years of experimentation before they perfected thousands and thousands and thousands of babies. All we have to do is look at those postcards and things like that. And then we see how they were putting these babies in jars. Like they were called the bonsai babies. They would grow them in jars and deform them completely. So they were these deformed beings walking around. So for me, this is not new, right? This is stuff that's been happening. I mean, since pre-mud flood, pre-Tartaria, right? And it's really just they have the technology from the pre-mud flood time to do these things and create this experimentation. And as you say, because the human DNA is so malleable, they can use it to literally interface with anything. So it's quite insane. Yeah.
That's right. Totally. And this it's all just kind of tying together with a lot of the other targets that I've done, and the Cabbage Patch Kids, all that, exactly what you're talking about. So I asked the question, how long has this been going on? I think we may have some answers here, even though I think it goes way farther back than this. But we can put this on the timestamp. Okay, we can put this on the timeline, stamp it in the timeline, the 1920s. Okay, the 1920s. This place that we're talking about, the Billiwhack monster, got its name because this was from the Billiwhack Dairy. Okay, the Billiwhack Dairy in Ventura County, California. That's in Southern California. It actually was a state-of-the-art, very advanced dairy back in the 1920s. It was a huge dairy farm, and it contained underground rooms and tunnels, by the way. It's also rumored that it was used by the OSS. Okay, the person who owned this farm, his name was August Rubble. Okay, or Rubel. I'm going to say Rubel. August Rubel. He moved to Ventura County in 1922. He established the dairy in 1924, and he came out of Zurich, Switzerland. Okay, he came out of Switzerland. I think you have a picture of him. potentially, if you want to pull it up. Because he came out of Switzerland. He served in the American Field Service in France from 1917 to 1919. And he was attached, he served for the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS. Now, for people who are not familiar with the OSS, that was the precursor to our modern day Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. All right, so they say that he performed experimentation beneath the dairy, including creating super soldiers.
Yeah,
okay.
Geneticist he must have been, or something like
that. They say the Billiwhack monster we've been talking about is a product of his research, and that it is one of the creatures that escaped his lab. Okay, creature. Now, it's also interesting because some say that there were at least 4 different people, like humans, that he was working on that were soldiers. Okay, they're actual soldiers, and 3 of them did pass away. Now, I would assume it's a whole lot more than that. I mean, if he had a state-of-the-art lab, I mean, I would think that humans, we know what happens these days. We hear about all the kidnappings and the people being taken underground, all the missing people from our national parks. Okay, when I remote viewed that, I was given those blind targets, and what I was seeing was people being kidnapped, being experimented on, and then being disposed of. Okay, that's modern day today. Imagine back then, they were doing the same thing back then. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the OSS, by the way, is known to do illegal and amoral experiments on humans, from brainwashing techniques to using drugs on people, on unsuspecting victims, actually, and studying diseases to use for warfare, and just all these inhumane practices, very much like is probably being done today. And we hear about with the people who have been victims of the super soldier programs in modern day, like my friend Arkeem, Daryl, James Rink, Tony Rodriguez, all these guys have been, victims of kidnappings, basically, and experimentation and just horrible things. I did spend last year, I did go last August, I think, last year's August, I went to Montauk, New York with a bunch of the survivors of the Montauk program. And that was, I learned a lot. Let's just say I learned a whole lot there. So, yeah. So these cases actually hit home for me because I know people personally, and I've been given these targets personally by people who are part of those programs, and are looking for validation into what their memories are of it.
But isn't it amazing, when you're getting, and again, you're getting, when you view your target, you're getting what they remember. So, that's really a God wink, isn't it? That to me, it's a God wink that this is happening. And we know, there's just too much stuff coming up now. Come on. There is just too much stuff coming up. These guys, the light is shining, and I tell you, and talking about light shining, isn't it full moon tonight in Pisces? So all the light is shining on everything, the full moon, and especially in Pisces. So all the dodgy stuff, it brings all the secrets to light. So interesting time to be doing this show, actually.
It is. We like exposing things, right? Shining the light on all this in the dark shadows of the underground facilities and stuff. It's
Totally.
it's my favorite thing to do right now. It is. And I know this is probably kind of dangerous, but we're just 2 crazy ladies on air over here. We don't know what we're talking about. It's for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of conspiracy theorists, single moms.
Right. That's just we're just crazy. Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, what's really interesting too is that August Rebel went back to I think he went to Germany, or maybe he went back to he went back to Switzerland, I assume. He went somewhere. He went back to Europe because I don't know. I don't know if they discontinued his program. I know that his dairy went under. Okay. He had prize bulls there. Prize bull. I vaguely remember him paying, I think it was like $140,000 or $114,000 for one of his bulls. That was like a show cow or a show bull. I guess the cow's a female. A show bull. And it was, I mean, that was a lot of money back in the 1920s. $114,000. That would have been like $1 million or more today. Okay. So, but his farm eventually went under, and they pretty much shut it down. So he went back to Europe, and he died under mysterious circumstances. They say that he was an ambulance driver, and he hit a German landmine, blowing up his vehicle. All right. But to me, that sounds like your modern day unaliving. Okay. Because he probably knew too much. But that's just my opinion. Okay.
Well, I mean, isn't it interesting how these guys, I mean, if we had to take, I mean, we hear about these things, but there's so many other things that we hear about as well. So many of them get lost in the sea of deception that we're being force-fed every day. But let's look at this. If all of us had to get together and actually say, well, this person, that person died under suspicious circumstances, we would have thousands of people being unalived. That we actually, and maybe we actually should do that, you know, because it brings to the fore just how many people are being taken out of the equation who can actually make a difference, right? The ones who are actually bringing in the change. Yeah, but anyway, I mean.
Yeah, well, okay, so this story has a lot of similarities to the Montauk project and the Montauk program that would be more kind of modern day for us. And like I said, I was at Montauk last year with a lot of the survivors. I think there were like 25 of us or something. There were a lot. I don't believe I was a part of any of those programs. Okay. So I just want to put that out there. I was just along for the ride. I was invited to go, and I did some remote viewing of the area and stuff for them. And these people are all obviously are good friends of mine, a lot of them. So we had a really interesting trip. But see, I brought our chimera on my show last week to talk about this because I figured that he would find some similarities with Montauk, okay, with this story. And he did. And as a matter of fact, when he saw that picture of August Rubble, I guess you could say he altered out is what he calls it, where he, you know, he's having all these revelations lately of where, you know, he's seeing people, nothing's a coincidence, and he recognized him from a program. Okay. Wow. And so it was pretty profound in that aspect, but he made the same connections that I did with Montauk because a creature was created at Montauk that they called Junior. Okay. So on this facility in the 1920s and 30s, we have the Billiwhack monster. In Montauk, they have what is called Junior that was a product of the experimentation there. So very similar stuff. We don't know exactly what all was going on here at that facility.
Who's Junior? What does Junior look like?
Junior looks like a Sasquatch, like a Bigfoot. And as a matter of fact, so I got in contact with some of my Bigfooting friends up in New York at Long Island, and they met us there for that event. Okay, so they met us there and went to Montauk with us. We actually went Bigfooting. I was Bigfooting while I was there at Camp Hero where the Montauk project took place. And the one morning that I didn't get up early enough, I was so tired and I was worn out. So some of the guys got up early and went to Camp Hero to go Bigfooting. My Bigfooting friends did. And they actually got a video of Junior while they were there. So Junior is still there. I think that Junior is guarding the land and maybe potentially even all the souls of all the children that died there. But it's similar. It could be very similar to this Billiwhack monster in the same area. Now, it just leads into a whole lot of questions as to, you know, these could be, I want to say conjured, kind of. Some of they were conjured.
Did you say a whole lot of soldiers died there?
Children. Yeah. And
children. Okay.
It was children. Well, it was super soldiers, I guess you could say, but they were all part of programs, secret programs. And a lot of people went missing from that area back during the time that that program was going on there, and they were never seen again. They were involved in teleportation experiments, time travel. They had what was called the Montauk chair there, where they would strap children into it. It was very barbaric. The children there were severely abused.
Yeah,
Severely.
they were. I mean, you see some of these pictures, you know, I've been working with survivors for a number of years now, and sometimes they send me their art. Man, oh man, that is, and exactly what you're talking about, that whole strapped into this chair, shocked, eyes pasted open with sellotape or whatever tape so they can't close their eyes, and having these flashing things. And that's just that part of it. I mean, there's of course so much more that goes along with it. No, it's insane. I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah, the show on Netflix called Stranger Things is based off of the Montauk program, the Montauk project. They just put out a PG version, okay, of what happened there. That would be like 11, the character 11 from Stranger Things. She was at basically like Montauk kind of stuff, and the way she was conceived, and her mom was on the LSD and all that kind of stuff, and that's the kind of experimentation they did there. And my friend Brian Minnick, okay, who has a YouTube channel called Montauk is Strange, met us up there, and he has been documenting. He lives there in the area. His family worked there on the projects and stuff, and he knows that area and all the underground tunnels and everything. He's mapped it out. He has a brand new book that just came out. It's about Montauk. And I highly recommend, if anyone is looking into Montauk, look up Montauk is Strange on YouTube. And he has eyewitness accounts. He knows where all the hidden bunkers are and everything. And he took us there. I'm not going to say where all we went, but I had a really interesting trip, let's just say, up to Montauk in the barracks and all that stuff. So
were you able to see, I mean, obviously I understand you can't really tell, but I mean, were you able to see, was there enough evidence to see what these guys had been doing? It's
yes.
Not like it was just empty rooms. There was stuff. Yeah, wow.
So, yeah, there's something called the radar tower. We actually got kicked out of there. I was already long gone when the security came. I already saw it coming. I knew that we were going to get in trouble, so I did not participate. Let's just say, but yeah, it's pretty heavily guarded. The radar tower is pretty famous. I'd say the Camp Hero Montauk. It's called I forgot the name of it. It was called the radar tower, and that's where they have a lot. Underneath that and in it, I think that's where the Montauk chair was, and I did some remote viewing of that area as well. We got visited by one of those black helicopters while we were out on the bluff. And we all waved to it, and it tipped its wings at us, or its propeller, and acknowledged us. But we felt like we were definitely being watched the entire time we were there. Yeah, it was interesting.
Wow. Yeah. I think this control, they're only going to be able to hold on for so much longer. I just love that what's coming out here. And I find it fascinating because, when we look at that, the first kind of movie I ever saw, I think was called RoboCop. And I remember it was, the story went, the cop got killed, and then he wasn't completely dead for some reason. And then they made him half human, half robot. And that was actually very fascinating. So I'm wondering if they're doing more of the same type of stuff also, in these underground facilities and stuff, and not just doing the animal. Because when we're looking, I mean, Jesse has spoken to us in the past as well about these animal armies, where there are full-on guerrilla armies, right? Full-on armies with guerrillas that no doubt have been mind controlled, and because of course they're very close to human intelligence or consciousness rather, So it just seems that I'd be interested to know, how are they using primates in these human, have you come across anything like that? I mean, we're hearing dogmen, we're hearing goatmen, we're hearing pigmen, right?
Mhm.
Are we? I mean, there's ape man, but it's actually a full-on ape. But I'm
Mhm.
wondering if they would be merging or blending DNA as well with the primates because they're so close to the human DNA. Have
Yeah.
you come
Oh,
across anything
I-
like that? I mean, they're 99%
yes.
human, right?
Yes. Okay. I have a lot. I have a lot to talk about with this. Okay. So I have talked extensively about the potential of there being a dogman breeding program, a werewolf breeding program, and a Sasquatch breeding program here in the United States. A whistleblower did come out and has claimed that that is the case. I have some people who have some good inside information who I brought on my shows that confirmed that that is real. Okay, they did say that's real. Now take that as you will. Okay, these are that's secondhand information, but I did remote view it. I do believe that they do exist. Okay. Now, governments will weaponize anything. Okay. And it's not just governments, just agencies. I mean, any kind of animal, any kind of anything is going to be weaponized. And there's Dennis right there, too. Um, yeah. So
Indeed.
anything is going to be weaponized. But we have, I mean, I've gotten reports of dog headed men in the military. Okay. There's a couple who had turned down a road in the mountain. They lived out in the mountains, or they were visiting the mountainous areas of down here in the south. They said they turned off a road, went the wrong direction, went down the wrong road, and they came up on a whole, it's like a unit, a military unit of people with military uniforms on, but they had dog heads. They were actual dogs, but like they had man bodies. And they were forced to turn around and leave, and they did. They weren't going to stick around for that. But I've been told that. I've also been told that that our government, let's just say our government, because I don't know, our government actually is contracted and works with, I believe he said 13 different types of cryptids. And when people wonder, like, well, why would the government want to work with, a pale crawler or, a Mothman or a Bigfoot? Well, think about all the kidnappings, all the missing people we have. Okay. That's where I got into a conversation one day about weaponized portals. And, I've established on my channel, I do believe that, and through my research, my boots on the ground field research I've been doing since 2011, I do believe that our cryptids out there are able to access Earth's natural portals. Okay, whether portals open during solar flares or whatever, I don't know. But I think that they're able to access some of these portals that we're not really privy to. I think some humans are, but not as normal, average, everyday humans. We we don't really know how to access those, but I think that the cryptids do. Excuse me. And oh, that's weird.
The question I have is that what are natural cryptids, natural born cryptids, right? Or
Yeah.
if that's even their name, because yes, okay, a cryptid would be an off-worldly, off-earthly creature, basically. So which of these creatures that we are encountering now, like you, the Bigfoot or Sasquatch, Dogman, werewolves, whatever, which of those are real, are like born like that because that's how they are created, and which of them are man-made? How do we know what is the difference between the natural born cryptids and the man-made ones?
Yeah. Well, I think that there's a mix of them. Okay, I think there's a mix. I think that there are like organic, born of this earth types,
Yes, yes,
natural organic, I guess you could say, and then there's some that have been genetically modified. Okay,
yeah,
just like humans, just like us humans too. There's some of
yeah,
us that are naturally born, and but at this point, everything that we are ingesting into our bodies right now has been genetically modified, which is making us genetically modified in some way with the ouchies, if you know what I mean, those things. And there's a big push for this transhumanist movement. Okay, so it could be that, but is there also a transcripted movement? Okay, I know that sounds weird, and I mean that, and you know what I mean by it. It's like, are they? I think it's because they're being weaponized, and
yeah,
there's cloning going on as well, even with the giants. Okay.
Yeah.
The giant sightings and the giant of Kandahar, when I remote viewed that, they were obtaining a sample for cloning purposes, according to that data. I think they're cloning and they're making army, like you said, Jesse said, there's an army of apes, right?
Yeah.
Just like Planet of the Apes. That's scary.
And I mean, like I remember in one of the shows, she says, "That's not like fiction, you know, that movie. It's not fiction." And I think definitely, I think there's such an array. These guys are so clever because they know exactly how energy works, and they've taken energy, because energy is energy. It's neutral. You can use it for that and in its positive natural state, or you can use it to corrupt and distort. And that's exactly what these guys do. It's like they'll take it and they'll take it to its most disgusting, debased form that one can ever imagine. And that's what they do, you know. So it's like it's amazing. But everything that is built on a falsity is going to crumble.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the time for truth, you know. The truth is here. And when you're aligned with truth, you're protected from these things. And you kind of know what to do when you're in that moment of encountering them. That's for sure.
Okay. So here's the next question, though, with all of this. Are they creating all of these super soldiers to help us or to hurt us? What is the purpose of all of this? Like, why would they make armies of ape men? And why would they need to clone giants and stuff? Is it to turn them against humanity? I mean, that's the golden question right there. Like, that's the question of the day in my book. Why? You know, and are they to go off planet? Or are they to fight us?
Well, I think we know that they hate us. I think by now we know that the controllers hate us, and they pretty much use us for their purposes, to farm us and loosh us and milk us and whatever else they do, right? So we have the one thing they don't have, and that is consciousness. So they feed off our consciousness. It's like that's what they feed off. That's why they have us. So the bottom line is what they're now trying to do is integrate us into their species so that they too have the loosh, so that we are no longer God's chosen species, so to speak, because that's how they see us. We have the ability to evolve. They don't. They're staying down stuck. And that's why they're always going to tempt us, because we can go either way. We can either go left or right. So we're either going to go walk in the light of God, or we're going to go right back to hell and carry on this sort of stuff. And this is the choice. So they try and deter us from finding the light, because the more of us that go in that direction towards them with their technologies and lies and bullshit, the more they feed, the longer they last, basically. We food for them. We sustenance for them. I mean, that's one thing I've understood. I mean, however they do it, it doesn't really matter. They do it in so many different disgusting ways. And yes, I do think, and with these animal armies and all these cryptids coming through, the big thing that they're doing is creating fear. So they create fear in the human species. So when these things start flying through the portals, we screaming and taking our things and panicking and running, and like in the movies. That's exactly what they want. It's exactly what they want. Fear's their chocolate, and it's that simple. So yeah, we just got to get out of fear. When we get out of fear, they have no hold over us. For me, it's that simple, really.
Yeah, they want us to beg for more laws to protect us and stuff. So I don't know. I just tell everybody to get armed with your slingshot so we can take Goliath down. Okay, because that was something else I looked into recently. Were some more giant sightings that have been seen. Some giants that have been seen all over the North America, basically. And I had remote viewed one out of Canada, and I had been seeing, pictures of or videos of giants that were doing push-ups on the side of mountains and stuff, and
push-ups,
like what? Well, here's push-ups, like doing in my remote viewing data, it said PT, physical training, and military training and stuff. So I just told the audience during that show at the end, I said, well, they're getting ready for something. Okay, so everybody get armed with your slingshots because we can take down the giants if we have to. There is a way. But it's first of all just being prepared and just kind of knowing what's going
Yeah.
on, so we're not blindsided by whatever's about to happen. And I don't want anybody to live in fear. I think that that's the wrong way to get, like, do not live in fear. That's what they want. And
Exactly.
so just
Exactly.
just be
What do
aware.
you, what do you say about Jason's question here? What about weaponized bugs? I mean, I'm sure they're there. I mean, those little things are flying around already, little ET bugs, and they get in everywhere. I want to tell you, this new psychic energy that they're putting, that they somehow activating on this planet right now is crazy. I'm seeing these little things. They're like these little mini zilly little flying things, but they're metal, and they get in everywhere, into people, into the atmosphere. They get in everywhere.
Yeah, the nanotech. I mean,
Yeah.
there's even saying that now it's in our sodas, like our Coca-Cola and stuff. Like I don't. I used to drink those things when I was younger, but I don't anymore. But even I think I'd mentioned that earlier today. It's just like everything is being used against us to turn us into genetically modified beings. And there's really not a whole lot of way around it. I mean, now they're putting stuff in our vegetables, in our drinking water. It's in our air. Yeah, it's everywhere. So I don't really know what the solution is to all of this. But
well, I think at the end of the day, and again, Dennis, I like what you say. Fear is the enemy. Don't live in fear, and don't let fear live in you. Exactly. That's how they get you. So what I always say is, if your frequency is of a higher vibration, and even if you do eat contaminated food, your spirit sorts that out. Your spirit clears that for you. If you're forced to eat that. But if you're in the lower fear, anger, fighting, killing each other for food, whatever it is, in those panic times where you don't believe there's enough, that's when those entities get you. It's all about energy, guys. Energy is everything. We are all created from energy. Think frequency, sound, vibration. If you are down there playing clang, clang, clang in the slimy swamps, of course you're going to meet crocodiles and creatures of the night. But if you're flying up there, you have a view, and that comes with releasing your fear, letting your fear go, facing your fears, and dissolving them. That's how it works. And then the path opens up. It's amazing.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Yeah. Yeah. Don't waller with the pigs, as we say here in the South. Okay. Don't waller with the pigs.
Isn't there a saying that goes, Afrikaans, it's meng jou met die semels en die vark vreet jou op. Mix with pig food and the pig eats you up. That's a direct translation. I don't know what it is in English. But basically, or don't throw pearl with a swine, basically. Know where you need to be. Surround yourself with people that lift you up and that you lift them up. That's what these times are about now. And when we do that with each other and for each other, they can't touch us. Turn your back on them. Turn your back on them and focus on what you do want. Focus on the things that bring you joy. That's how we transcend these things. Not by focusing on them. And, when they come for me, and I promise you guys, I get whacked, or they try and whack me a lot. I just send it to God. I send them back to God. I don't send them back down to the hell dungeons. Why? Why do you think? Because if you send something down back there, you cut one head off, 10 grow. It becomes stronger and it gets up to more mischief. So when you just say, take it, God, take it. God takes it and God sorts it out. There you go.
Right.
Why would I want to give it back to the devil? Or so to speak, if you look at it like that. It's all energy. Positive, negative. What do you feed? The more you feed the beast, the stronger the beast gets. Feed God.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice, and that's same thing I always say. I don't entertain it. Okay, just don't entertain the negativity and stuff.
Exactly.
If you don't, it just grows if you do. And I thought that things had kind of smoothed out in my world, okay, where people weren't really attacking me as much. And then I said that on a show, and then somebody tried to attack me right after. So it's just, they never, you put it out there. If you even acknowledge it, then it comes back at you sometimes. So just don't even acknowledge it. So
Exactly.
that's how that works. Yeah.
And I say that again, and guys, this was such a profound part of the movie Merlin. I never watched Merlin before, and I watched it quite recently. And at the end, they were talking about Queen Mab, and Queen Mab feeds off everyone's misery.
Yeah.
So she creates misery so she can feed off the misery, so to speak. Her greatest fear was that people were going to stop being miserable. So what did one smart person stood up and said, well, let's not feed her anymore. Turned around and everyone ignored her, and she just disappeared into nothingness. So if that's not a lesson for us, then I don't know what is. So let's just focus on what we do want, and the love that we have, and the friends that we have, and the relationships that we have, and we'll grow together. That's how we grow. It's not about focusing on the things that give us a hard time. That's the whole thing. We've got to raise our frequency to understand that. When we get there, we'll see what we mean.
Yes, for sure.
Interesting journey for us all right now. It's beautiful. I love it.
It is. I'm having fun. I mean, I'm looking into the weirdest stuff right now. I mean, this Billiwhack monster, like I said, I told you I never heard of it before. So I was given this as a target for remote viewing it. And I just think it's fascinating to be able to put a date on the earlier, from what I understand. I mean, this is back in, during the Depression, basically. This is pre like World War I era. This is like World War I era, actually, when this was going on. And so it just makes you wonder, like, how long has this really been going on? If he had a advanced lab underneath a dairy, a very expensive high-tech dairy back then, and he was doing genetic experimentation on humans, okay, back then, this goes way farther back. It goes way farther than that.
It does. They were already advanced then. I mean, the fact that they could take 4 soldiers, of which 3 died, they had a pretty good idea. I mean, I'm sure they've always got to experiment and test and kill people and do disgusting things in order to feed their fetish, because that's what it is. They're really all full of fetishes. That's really what it is. It's a fetish for blood. It's a fetish for perversion. So when they, and that's what they do. So I have no doubt that it's been going on since Lucy's been around. Lucy, he's so cute. Lucy.
Well, and some people actually were making the connection of, because there is like a Luciferian agenda. We do have some pretty high-ranking Luciferians in our military to this day. Okay, it is what it is. And even with Caleb telling us about the arcane in the military and the Marines and all that stuff, I mean,
if you listen to Jessie's testimony as well, 2 of her main abusers, because she was also trafficked through the military, John Brennan, head of CIA at the time, and Aquino, the one that has the eyebrows curling up. When I saw a picture of Michael Aquino, I'm like, how the hell can anyone see that thing doesn't belong to the devil? It's the devil. He wants to be the devil, that one. He walks around, he's like, as Leo Zagami calls him, Satan's little helper.
He looks like it, for sure.
Aquino and Brennan were 2 of her main abusers. And then, of course, there was the Gloria Vanderbilts and the Hillary Clinton and the Bill Clintons and, of course, and the royal families. So, I mean, they were all involved, in the military for sure. For sure. And what was the other one? Michael Karkoc, who was Hitler's, he was Hitler's ambassador to the Ukraine or something like that. So they all work together.
Man. Yeah, it runs deep. These rabbit holes are real deep. Okay, they're very deep. And so it's yeah, it's cool connecting the dots though now for me, and especially on the level of the cryptids and the chimeras and the underground facilities, the labs, and that's what I'm doing right now. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's amazing that we're doing it, and I'm definitely enjoying our shows together. Yeah, in
Oh,
terms of just figuring things out. And I think you and I must have a little chat off air and do some sightseeing.
yeah, for sure.
You
Yeah,
know me, I like
love
to
it.
sightsee. I'm a girl of nature.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got to get you out in the woods, go bigfooting with me sometime too.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
covered. Just do
Oh, yeah.
it. We're going to take photographs, and our grandchildren are going to be jealous.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I take my son out there with me sometimes, so he's a Bigfooter too. So he knows he's better than I am, probably.
Of course he is, Mama. With a mama bear like you, what can he say?
Right.
Anyway, it was so fun, Jessica. It's always wonderful having you on the show. So thank you for joining me, and everybody, thank you for being so cool. I really enjoy you guys. Thank you for joining the chats here, and just supporting our show. And as you can see, for those of you, and I know when I join Jessica's chats, and I know Dennis in here as well, I see a lot of our people as well. So it's cool to see you guys when I'm in the chat there, 3 o'clock in the morning, typing away from between my covers. Anyway, thank you guys. Take good care. Jessica, anything you want to say just before ending?
Oh gosh, no! Everybody, just be safe out there. We're living in very weird times right now. The world is it's a little more dangerous, I feel like, and so, but don't live in fear. Just live in awareness, okay? And yeah, and y'all come see me over on my channel. I've got 4 live shows a week at the Cryptid Huntress over on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook. So thank you for having me again. It's always fun.
And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Yay! God bless everybody. And don't forget to keep your vibe high. It's full moon tonight. All dodginess is coming to the fore. So whatever secrets need to be revealed, just expose it. So much easier.
It's time.
Indeed. God bless you all. Take good care. Okay, there we go. Well, I'm not going on.